Well, I tell you what, it's hard to just shake that one off and get into the program, but we will do, because we are just 4 days out from the first Bledisloe Cup challenge, of course, between New Zealand and Australia. Midweek game as well that we got to get excited about. We've got the usuals, and Jeff Wilson, you are back joining us this week. Tell us where you were last week and how was your week? It's
bigger than the Olympics, the Ames Games. So when it comes to it, in Tauranga put on a wonderful show, the Bay of Plenty, but all of a sudden intermediate school kids come across the country. I was coaching my son's basketball team, and what an experience it was. Just myself and Nadine with 10 young men, feeding them, getting them to bed, getting them up, preparing them, feeding them, just over and over again. But it was a wonderful experience. It was great.
We've got video evidence that you and Adine did an incredible job.
She did.
Take a look at this. This is in Tauranga at the Ames Games. You've got to listen.
Normal win the Ames Games. They win the greatest prize in intermediate school basketball. They upset their rivals, Murray's Bay, in one of the great finals, 30-28. And aren't they delighted? Aren't they thrilled? Former All Black Jeff Wilson there, the coach. He acknowledges his boys. But you don't have Pete Sampras without Andre Agassi. You don't have a classic basketball final without the might of Murray's Bay. Both schools can be incredibly proud, but the honours go the way of Takapuna Normal.
Amazing. You won the whole tournament.
Yeah, look, it was a huge tournament. The kids were so great, but across the board, it was so well run. And for all of those kids across all of the sports, it was a week they'll remember. Absolutely, it was so much fun. It was great. I'm still recovering though. I'm well and truly still recovering. It was stressful, man.
They had you on the edge of your seat right till the end as well, right? It was close.
Well, I don't know if it was one of the great games. It wasn't one of the great games, but we got a great result. I'm so proud of those boys. I hope they're watching. Or they're in bed, one or the other.
Well done. Congratulations to your team and to you and Nadine for surviving that as well.
We're in one piece. We're in one piece.
The All Blacks have made it to Australia. They left on Friday. They've been out and about seeing the sights of Melbourne, but they've taken a different team, a 33-man squad. Luke Jacobson has been recalled. No Adi Savia. He's waiting on the birth of his third child. Shannon Frizzell, Patrick Tupolotu, both injured as well, and a couple of players were left behind to play NPC rugby. What does this mean, JK? What do you read into some of these selections? And the big one, of course, Adi Savia's not there. That's a starting spot up for grabs.
Oh, for me, I was just going, the last person I don't want to be there against Australia is Adi Savia. He has probably been in the very best of form. You know, they say a champion is someone who steps up under pressure, and it's probably been the most pressure any of these All Blacks have been under in the last sort of 8 weeks, and he's been outstanding, Mills, and I think it's a huge loss. Not only what do you do now, do you go to your youngsters, do you go to Hoskins, do you change everything, do you put a lock onto the loose forward? Not only does it create those, you're missing a guy that under pressure steps up.
Well, and he has done, you know, throughout this whole championship, even throughout the Irish series. You know, he's been a real leader. The guys have sort of turned to as well to really be consistent week in, week out. So it's going to be a massive headache, you know, for Ian Foster. So how does he fill that void? Because he brings something different. He brings that physicality, but he also brings sort of winning a big moment, whether it be over the ball, running, you know, how we've all seen him sort of run, you know, pumping those powerful legs, but also, you know, his defensive aspect. And not quite sure. I mean, he's way up there. I mean, how do you feel that? Luke Jacobson comes into the fold.
It's easy, you just go Blues. Yeah, just go Blues, Mills. That's all you do.
Go on then. Just
Hoskins,
go Blues.
Tutu.
Dalton Popperley, all the options are there. Akira Ioane, they're all there, right? I think one of the biggest losses as well is Shannon Frizzell, because we've been searching for the performance from the blindside flanker, which has been consistent. Now, win or lose, he's done the exact same thing every game. Been a really good line-out target. He's carried the ball strongly. He's cleaned out hard and he's carried hard. The things that we weren't getting on a consistent basis. So I think we've got to look for that again. Where can we get that from? Is it Scott Barrett back to blindside flanker? And we've got to think about the challenge that we're going to have in front of us. It's not Argentina, it's the Wallabies. The Wallabies play nothing like Argentina. The Wallabies play nothing like South Africa. So it's which players in combination are going to be good enough to put the Wallabies under pressure. Now, you're thinking about the next guy, who's the next cab of the rank. We always talk about combinations.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. You lose 2 of your combination, which we've just started to build, right?
But you've given guys plenty of opportunity to
There's been no opportunity.
In the past. No. In the past, you've given Akira Ioane the opportunity. You did it last year. You gave him the chance to play blindside flanker, and he was successful against the Wallabies. There's no doubt about that. Hoskins Sotutu showed he is good enough, and the way that he plays the game, I think it will suit playing against the Wallaby side. It's just who you believe and how you believe you're going to beat them. And I'd rather go size. I want to go up front, and I'm going to Scott Barrett the blindside
no
flanker.
eye on the World Cup.
What's that?
There's no eye on the World Cup.
Absolutely. Because you know what? We don't play the same team every week. It changes, and it might change. We don't know who we're going to play in the quarterfinal, because we're going to get to the quarterfinal. It could be South Africa or it could be Ireland, right? 2 vastly different teams.
So you're saying Scott
we're
Barrett...
have to play.
You're saying Scott Barrett is our next best...
Remember the last time he played at 6? And he started at 6?
Yep.
Pretty sure we thumped Ireland in the very first test, right? When he put out that performance, he went to lock because he was...
So that's your choice, is it?
My choice is I'd like to see him go there. I think we bring Brodie Retallick. We make a marker with a young front row with more size. I tell you what, we take them on up front.
Who's 8?
Who's at 8?
You've got him.
No, he wants to say Blues.
He knows something, I can see.
I don't know anything.
With someone else down at Ames,
You're clearly going to go with Hoskins Sotutu.
Who are you going to?
You're clearly going to go with that.
Of course I am.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you. I 100% think that he should be the guy.
I think I'd have to agree with Jeff in terms of, and also Hoskins at 8. I think what Ian Foster faces now, he's got to win the Bledisloe, all right? Yep. Okay, so he's now had a game where he's needed a settled side. He goes over to Melbourne. If he can keep that same team, which I think he possibly will. I think he has to keep that same team that won against, in that last test against Argentina, and build that, albeit, but that change and that stability with Barrett. He's playing some good footy. You know,
he plays like Frizzell.
Yeah, and he has to. Valentini needs to be well and truly looked after. And then you put Hoskins Sotutu and you say to him, you know, he doesn't need to go out there and really shine. Just do your core role, come off the back of the scrum and get well over that game line and try and be a little bit free. And I think that's where, I mean, the last thing we want to be doing, I think he's got to place all his bets on winning this first game and then going to your point, and then start to sort of make a few changes based on the Rugby World Cup.
I would go, so obviously Kirsty and I were together, are we? I'm going to ask you next. I would go. I would go? Yeah. I'd go Ioane. The reason being, I think Argentina bring a really, really physical, close contact game. I think Frizzell's been outstanding, don't disagree with you. But I think against Australia, both Hoskins and Akira have been outstanding because it's just not as tight or as physical, and we need players that are going to play wide, right? I think that, I don't disagree. I think Scott's an amazing athlete because he can play both. But I still think that Akira and Hoskins would bring something really special. It'd make Sam play a lot tighter, but you go those guys ranging out wide, I think it makes it a really, really attacking, dangerous. And I think the physicality would be enough.
You guys are all going to laugh at me when I bring this up, but we probably need to be serious about it for a moment. The All Blacks haven't won back-to-back tests this year. Are there any concerns? Is this the one Bledisloe that Australia could actually win for the first time since, what, 2004?
Where's the second test?
Yeah, Eden Park.
It's at Eden Park.
Are you concerned at all, though?
Oh, you've got to be wary. You've got to be wary about inconsistency, surely.
Well, look at how the championship has gone. I mean, the whole competition is pretty tight. And you're right, they haven't won back-to-back. And I think the consistency that the All Blacks have now is to keep that same team to try and build it and win the Bledisloe back. And I think they've got to be physical against the Australians. It's the one area that we've got to make sure we've got a really nice tight five, and I think that are building nicely. I think if we go to Melbourne and we start changing the team around in terms of the consistency that we've had in that last test, and we lose, I think Eden Park now becomes somewhere where Dave Brenner, he's very smart. This game in Melbourne is going to come down to how well both these teams prepare in terms of their tactics and what they want to sort of implement in the game. I'm worried that we don't go to Melbourne and win, then that sort of whole, mystique about Eden Park is going to be out the window, because they've shown in the past, the Wallabies, that they can beat us. Is this the Wallabies' best chance in a long time, Jeff?
Oh, no,
are you buying into that?
They won a test in Perth, they dominated, and they came to New Zealand with a chance to win it, and they didn't perform. Yeah. They had 2 chances. So I look at this and go, I think the Wallabies are a different team, but they're just as inconsistent as we've been. I mean, they've been poor, and the fact that injuries have forced them to bring back Kurtley Beale into their environment, and don't get me wrong, experience does count for a lot, but they're still really unsettled in some key positions, namely first 5-8, and the experience you need to beat the All Blacks, and back-to-back, they need to win both Test matches, JK, to beat us. I don't have the doubt they have the necessary ability. I just believe that if we don't build on what we've done, if we don't build on this last performance, I do have concerns, because we need to take another step forward, JK. We need, as a group, as a team, even without Ardie Savea and Shannon Frizzell, the group that have now prepared well, which Jason Ryan talked about, and perform, if they can't replicate that type of energy and put out another performance with the Bledisloe Cup on the line, I think we should be concerned.
Yeah, I think any great side needs to go through adversity. And I think that has the last 8 weeks been enough adversity, Mills? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it is, right?
For us, right?
For us, Ian Foster, the Radio Public, that challenge, right?
86 lost in France, won the World Cup the next year. You know, 2011, 2007, disastrous. And so my heart is hoping that we've turned a corner. I think the disruption of Frizzell and Savea is not a small one. It's the last thing that the selection team would have wanted, because they just started to really get into their rhythm. So that's not easy. I think the inconsistency is right across the board. Look at South Africa, you know, amazing, inconsistent. So this seems to be the sort of call of this championship. But the Bledisloe Cup is another motivation. So I hope we've turned the corner, but I think we will see this this week. I think it'll be an incredibly close test match. I think Australia are showing some really good signs of how they want to play. They still haven't got that consistency, but I think this series will be a classic.
This is an interesting one. This is a midweek fixture, the first midweek Bledisloe since 1994. I'm not going to bring it up, Jeff.
The most ridiculous decision ever made.
Yeah, well, no one's talking about it, because the AFL finals are on in Australia and the NRL Grand Finals. This is a midweeker. 53,000 are expected at Marvel Stadium, which has a retractable roof. It's supposed to be amazing, but no one's talking about this.
That is a concern when you think about where the Bledisloe Cup needs to get back to, Mills.
Yeah.
Where it hasn't been for so very, very long. And given the inconsistencies of the All Blacks, you would expect almost the Australian media to be backing their team to give themselves a chance to win. I'm not sure whether that helps us or hinders us. I don't really know.
It's a weird one, eh? But I can possibly see where they're going. From a marketing point of view, you know, the AFL finals are on, have that sort of midweek, and everyone comes to Melbourne. I mean, you know, that's great for the tourism of Australia. So, but I'm a traditionalist. I'd love to see it sort of, you know, be where it's at, you know, on a Saturday, whether it's in the afternoon or evening, and really pump it up. But I think from a marketing point of view, in terms of where they want to go with the tourism, it's a moneymaker. Everyone comes into Melbourne, they're spending all their money, and they're going, we might even get some AFL sort of fans, you know, turn up on the night. It's a fantastic place to play under the roof where they open it all night. It's a great stadium.
I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I like it. And Melbourne, the restaurants will be open, so you can go out afterwards. I just think it's different. I like it to be different. I think Melbourne is one of the greatest sporting cities in the world. They know how to host, and so I think it's just going to be an amazing week. Is it
the place that they've got the best chance to win?
I don't. I mean, does that matter anymore? Does it really matter anymore?
Well, it matters to them. Is it
no,
the
but
best place?
Do you think it matters at the professional level?
Well, I'm just talking about. Well, if you're thinking about a feral crowd, you know, playing. I'm wondering whether playing in Sydney or whether playing up in Brisbane, you know, does that play into our hands playing in Brisbane? So many Kiwis live in Brisbane, right? Maybe that, and we've always had great support there.
I just don't know. I just don't think the modern professional, it would affect them. If anything, it should be like an added bonus for your motivation. I just don't think.
It matters.
I don't know.
Okay.
What, Mills, did you worry about playing in South Africa or?
I don't think it holds as much sort of importance as perhaps it used to, because the guys are so professional. I mean, regardless of whether the Wallabies feel they have the best bet of winning in Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne, they'll be going out there, and they would have focused the last couple of weeks on how they're going to, well, Dave Rennie in particular, how they're going to beat them. It doesn't matter what blade of grass they're going to be sitting on. It'll be more around there as opposed to, we're playing in Melbourne. This is it's not going to help you.
But I do think it's really good for the game and for our fans.
I'm only having you on because all I
night.
know what I'm going to face over the next 4 days. Because it's just 1994 was the last time.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it every year. It's just more important. Anyway.
We don't need that, do we?
No, we don't.
We won't do that for you. We won't do it to you.
It's going to come up at some point.
Trivia question, and I promise you, it is not part of the trivia question. The trivia question for today, these guys are about to take a break on the couch as well, so do not Google it. That is your warning. Which day of the week have the All Blacks played the least on? Which day of the week have the All Blacks played the least on?
New Zealand time.
Look, I don't know the technicalities, just day of the week.
Okay.
Which day of the week have the All Blacks? You can't answer it now. We will do this for you in part 3. So hold on to the answers. You guys go and take a break. We've got an incredible trio of wahine coming on to talk Farah Palmer Cup, to talk about our Sevens and the Women's World Cup.
Control. Oh, big collision, Pasikala. Robin's over. First try of the final. Cormac to Hume. It's with Cunningham, so close. Leah Miles. She's over. Both sides of the fence. Outstanding this afternoon. Hawke's Bay on the line. Hawke's Bay Tui, third time lucky. They are the winners of the Bunnings Farah Palmer Cup Championship.
As they go wide, they've got numbers on the outside here. Duplessis goes forward to get the pass away, and Canberra 2 minutes into the game. And another good run from Fisher, and Rua's the man. Well, she's the one that started it. Canterbury, they pick up their 5th title, and they are your 2022 Farah Palmer Cup Premiership champions.
No mai, hoki mai, welcome back into the breakdown while we've shipped the boys off and we have brought in the experts, Taylor Johnson, Tyler Nathan Wong, the legendary Anna Richards. Thank you all so much for coming on the program. It is so awesome to be able to do this. Tyler, unfortunately, you're not over at the Sevens World Cup at the moment. HIA, after that final Black Ferns match in Christchurch, how are you feeling? How's everything going for you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm about 3 weeks post that concussion and doing well. The first week or two was a bit of a challenge and, you know, had to kind of just let everything soak in, be patient with myself. But I'm doing good now. First week back running, completed that, ticking boxes. We're on the up.
That's good to hear. Gutted that you couldn't go over, but we're lucky to be able to have you on this panel. Anna, I'm so sorry, but we have to talk about it. Farah Palmer Cup Premierships, coach of Auckland sitting right here. Taylor, of course, called the final. Canterbury, just too good. 5 titles in 6 years. Seriously, what makes this side so good? You know, because you've got to coach against them.
Oh, look, they outplayed us yesterday. And to be fair, we just didn't compete at a lot of areas in the game. We couldn't hold on to the ball for periods. You know, the only time we actually built phases, we scored, you know, more than 4. But we just kept on shipping the ball out, and it's too hard against Canterbury. And I think the biggest thing about them is that they know how to play finals footy. Now, you know, it's their fifth title in 6 years, and I thought they played really, really well yesterday, used the win really well, and just didn't make too many errors.
I think Canterbury as well, they just played with so much tempo, and the thing about that Canterbury team is it doesn't actually change a lot over the years as well. Like, you look at the team that won that first title back in 2018, you know, a lot of those girls are still there today, and it's just that experience, and a lot of them playing the Black Ferns together. You know, there was 11 current and former Black Ferns in that team, so I think it's just experience and playing together.
The thing is, they didn't miss a beat when they lost their Black Ferns as well before that Black Ferns test in Christchurch.
No, they didn't. It just shows that, like Taylor says, the consistency. They've played together for how many years now, and they just keep bringing that. They were very dominant. Their scrum was very dominant yesterday. Lineouts were a bit iffy from both teams, but it just shows you can get set piece, you can hold on to your ball, you score tries.
There were 3 legends of the game that will be their final match in the Farah Palmer Cup. I want to touch on Kendra Coxedge first and foremost, her 100th game for Canterbury, and what a way to send her off in that sort of style. How does she compare to some of the greatest ever that have played in Farah Palmer Cup? Is she one of the greatest Farah Palmer Cup players? You'd know, you've been there for a very long time as well, Anna.
Anna wants to say it's her.
Yeah.
Anna, guys.
Oh, like
You've won 9 titles.
Yeah, no doubt. Kendra's a wonderful player. Is she the best ever Farah Palmer Cup player? She's only won 5 titles. You know,
only 5.
There's a lot of Auckland girls who have won 9, 10 titles. So it's, and that's not to say Canterbury won't go on and do that, but they'll have to do it without Kendra. And I think Kendra will be a massive loss for them.
I definitely think she does build her own legacy because she has scored the most points in Farah Palmer Cup history ever. You know, she took massive conversions from the sideline, you know, second amount of tries scored. So, yes, as Anna said, you know, she deserves a place in history, but there's, you know, still plenty of really good players in the past. And, you know, Auckland, they had a stronghold over the title for years and years. They've won 15 titles, and it's only been around since 1999, so it goes to show there's some pretty solid athletes back then. But I think Canterbury, they might have looked at what happened back then and trying to mimic it and building such a strong foundation.
Tyler, you would have played with and against her?
Yeah, Kenj, yeah, have. I played with her for the first time, I think, when we both made our, well, when I made my debut in 2012 for the Sevens. She was in the Sevens then, and then also against her as well. Haven't played against her in recent years, and then luckily made my debut after as well down in Christchurch. So she's an amazing player. You can't get that wrong. And she, you know, she's that type of player just that loves that little bit of niggle in the game as well. Like loves to get inside people's minds. But you know, if you're up to the challenge, you can get it back to her too. You know, I love watching Vic, Sabrisky and Nafatali and Kenj go at each other. That's one of the best rivalries. I love seeing them when they're playing against each other.
Can I just also ask you the story? You played against Anna too?
Yeah, I played against Anna. The first time I played against Anna, I was 14 years old. I was playing for Auckland Marathon. She was playing for College Rifles. I got footage somewhere on one of my pages back in the day, and
I may not have noticed you. She's a bit small.
Yeah, you think I'm small now, man. I was even tiny. It's crazy.
You're the nicest halfback there is. You talk about niggle, Kendra Coxedge, Emma Jensen, man, they're in your ear, and Tyler's just giving compliments out on the field.
Yeah, you would be doing that, wouldn't you? You're amazing. We want to talk about the other legends as well. Steph Te or Heidi Fox, she's given so much to Canterbury, and Emma Jensen another. Her final match, and they win the championship title.
Yeah, it's fairy tale really ending for all those three, and all three, I think they're sitting at like 300 and something odd first-class games, which is outrageous. But 3 wonderful, wonderful players, and you know, although it hurts me to say, you know, they may have deserved to go out on once.
Well,
That's nice of you.
137 games Emma Jensen finishes on. She's played for multiple provinces, and everywhere she goes, she's added something, and she's helped develop the players, and that is why we've seen the likes of Hawke's Bay just get better and better. You know, their 3rd time in a championship final, and they get the win, and it was for her, and, you know, no one picked that game. Otago was spanking everyone out the competition. They went to Balclutha, not an easy place to play in if you're Hawke's Bay, and then they get the win. That's an incredible effort from the Hawke's Bay Tui, so congratulations to them.
Yeah, massive congratulations to Hawke's Bay and to Canterbury. Now, all 3 of you have been in and around this competition for some time now. What do you think of the level of this competition? Is it getting better year on year? Are we seeing increases in the skill level, the competition between players?
Oh, undoubtedly, and I think that's to do with high-performance units that have been set up since 2019. I think that's helped immensely. The fact that it's now there's a premier competition. I think I'd like to see more provinces in there, which would be really cool. But I think it's just going to get better and better.
Yeah, well, due to these high-performance programs, players are getting fitter, faster, stronger. The skill level is increasing, and that's what we want to see in the women's game. We want to keep seeing it developing, and it's amazing to see these players. So, yeah, keep bringing it on, keep supporting the women's rugby, and we need to keep going up.
It's the pathways as well, because more and more girls are playing at school, and then we see so many schoolgirls year in, year out in the Farah Palmer Cup, but they were also playing with Black Ferns, and that's the beauty about the Farah Palmer Cup. You don't get it in the NPC, you don't get schoolboys playing with All Blacks in one team, but you do in the FPC, and they're just learning from each other, and, you know, the more experienced players are also learning from the young ones. You know, they've got new tricks and skills as well, so I think it's such a premier competition in that way. It is getting better and better, but as Anna said, there's still work to do.
You mentioned the word pathways. There's been an amazing pathway into Sevens, right? That Go for Gold program. Your captain, Sarah Hiddeny, she has done something that no female Sevens player in New Zealand has ever done. 50 tournaments. It is absolutely incredible. She's over at the World Cup at the moment, and Ricky Swannell sat down with her.
Sarah, your 50th sevens tournament for New Zealand. Take me back. What do you remember about those first few events all that time ago?
Feels like a long time ago now, but geez, I remember them so clearly. I was just living this dream. I couldn't even still believe that I was making a team, like a New Zealand team, let alone travelling the world doing something that I really loved, and somewhat getting paid for it, I suppose. We weren't sometimes getting money, but I was happy getting a free pair of boots, a free pair of runners and a bag full of clothes. I think back to then, I was obviously quite young in the team, and now I'm reaching quite old. It feels like it's getting younger and younger, which is like, it's nice. It's a nice feeling. The girls bring different energy. They're into different things than probably we were back in the day, but it's like a real cool feeling when you look around, and it's just people who are like, you think of Georgia Miller now, it's her first tournament, and gee, she's like a real confident rugby player, and like I love seeing that and seeing what she brings like on the field. I still know that I want to get better, and I want to be a better player than what I was 10 years ago, and the things that people do on the series now is pretty scary, so you have to keep up and have to try and stay on top of your game. We are still pretty hard on ourselves. We still expect to win every tournament. Like even this week I've looked around and be like, far out, we're in South Africa playing in another World Cup, but still feel like the energy that I had back in the day in 2013 at my first World Cup.
Do you have a standout memory or a highlight?
All the vision, you're in all the pictures, you're on the podiums, you're in the haka as well. You've nearly been there for 50 tournaments. But give us some insights into what Sarah's like behind the scenes. What's she like as your captain, as your leader?
She's just real chill, Like, she's just, you know, she's super competitive on the rugby field, or like any games like that, but off the field, just relax. And I think that's kind of everyone in our team. You know, you got to be super competitive to be in that environment, to be in a high performance environment. But yeah, to achieve 50 tournaments, it's amazing, because like Anna was saying to me before, we only had played like, say, 4 or 5 tournaments a year, really, over the last how many years that we've been playing. Enjoying her time there, and yeah, leading the team well, and hopefully a semi-final win tonight.
Exactly, semi-finals tonight after 10 o'clock for both the men and women at the World Cup. But this is just one of the milestones. There's also 3 ladies, Sarah, Portia Woodman and Kelly Brazier, who are playing in their 3rd Women's World Cup. This is a golden generation for sevens, isn't it?
Like the crew that came out of that 2012 Go for Gold program have just dominated the New Zealand team and the world the last 10 years, and they're just amazing.
But you also got to look at that experience in that team, and as soon as those guys retire, I think there is going to be a massive gap, because they have been the stronghold of that team, especially Sarah Hiddeny. Like, she doesn't look like she's going to slow down anytime soon. And those ladies there, they've done such a service to the game of sevens, because they're such good characters on and off the field. And then parents, they look at those ladies, they think, I want my daughters to be like that. And so they push them towards sevens. And I think they're a huge reason why the likes of the Farah Palmer Cup have grown more competitive, because they're just such good servants of the game. But look, I think we're in some trouble soon, because there will be a time where they will hang those boots up. This is their 3rd World Cup.
But let's celebrate the success right now, and the success that we've seen over the last decade. What makes this team so successful, Tyler? I know it's one of those like massive philosophical questions, because I'm sure there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, but what is it?
It comes down to the off-field team culture at the end of the day, and that's something Alan Bunting brought in 2016 when he before that, when he took over as head coach after 2016. And that's what it was about. It was about building that culture from the bottom up and making sure everyone felt welcome, felt they would be able to be their unique self in the team. And when you're comfortable, you're having fun off the field, that just comes onto the field. You trust your teammate next to you, and you just have fun at the end of the day. And that's when we are playing our best, we are having fun, and we are just unleashing our X factor out there.
I think there is this jealousy around the world that everyone wants to have that sort of culture and environment that your team has, right? Every team that looks in.
I think it helps too that every team member's got X factor.
That does help.
So that helps immensely.
But the same.
And I think what you've seen since Bunce took over was they play as a team, not as individuals. So you've got this wonderful bunch of amazing athletes who play as a team, and you can't get it any better.
Well, when you talk about X Factor and these sevens women, the Rugby World Cup, the Women's Rugby World Cup is not too far away, just 27 days until the opening match at Eden Park on October the 8th. How many of these sevens ladies have put their hands up, Tyler? Who's available?
I think there was about 6 or 7 at the end of the day. So, yeah, you've seen some of the girls play end of year tour, Laurie O'Reilly, and then before that, obviously, O-Picky. So the coach has got a handful, just not only with sevens, though, but with all the competition and the quality of players in the Farah Palmer Cup. It's just going to be a tough one to choose.
Who makes it out of these sevens ladies that come into this environment, and what do they add to an environment?
It's so tough because you've got to look at it as a tournament. You know, the sevens ladies, they are used to playing tournaments, they're used to short turnarounds, and it is a short tournament, the World Cup, and so their bodies are trained for that and they're used to it, whereas, you know, the Farah Palmer Cup, you know, you've got a week rest and things like that. Anna, you'll know all about short turnarounds. It probably seems like nothing. She's like, man, we played 2 games, two games in 2 days.
With 21 people and a 26 player squad. This squad that is named on Tuesday, the World Cup squad, 32 players. How difficult will that be to pick?
Oh, I know, because it was meant to be 36 to start with COVID. Now, World Rugby's brought it down to 32, and I know Wayne Smith was like, how am I going to do this? And he's professed it's going to be really tough, and I think it will be, because there's been some real talent on show in the Pack 4 and Laurie O'Reilly, so... And there's the sevens girls available too.
Yeah, are any of you willing to put your necks out and say maybe a bolter who might make it a surprise pick?
A bolter?
I don't think anyone would be a surprise if they made it. It's this fact that in previous years, they've just walked into the squad because they were the only full-time professionals. But now you have the ladies who have been playing day in, day out with the Farah Palmer Cup teams. They're contracted as well. So it is an even playing field these days. But I do think we'll probably see the midfield in there. You want the experience who did go to the last World Cup, and you look at, you know, some of the sevens ladies who were at the last 15's World Cup, and you'd probably think they're a shoo-in.
Yeah, I think there's a few girls who would put their hand up purely because they've played before. They've played at a 217 World Cup and they've produced, and you can't really go past that.
Well, we're not too far away. The best in women's rugby are coming right here to Aotearoa. We've won 5 Rugby World Cup titles. Anna, you've been a part of them, and we've never hosted it on New Zealand shores. So do get out and support these amazing women. They're incredible athletes, and they'll put on an amazing show as well. The 8th of October is the opening day. You can get tickets from just $5 for kids and $20 for adults. There's 3 matches, so it really is a festival of rugby coming up. And Rita Ora, the global superstar herself, will be playing at Eden Park that day. Plus, there's a special rugby news edition coming out on September the 26th. It will be in stores. It is a World Cup guide for the tournament coming up in New Zealand. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on. Commiserations from us for yesterday, but I know you're a proud Aucklander and your team will come back so much better. That's why you've got your jersey on. Yep. All the best with the recovery.
Thank you.
And the World Cup naming on Tuesday as well. Thank you for coming on. Taylor, thank you as always. You're brilliant. So we'll see you all soon. You're all welcome back anytime. I'm just going to remind you about the trivia question before we get the gentlemen back, and I'm sure you all know it. It'll be them that's Googling the answers. But the question was, which day of the week have the All Blacks played the least amount of tests on? That is your question, with your answer right after this.
I'll look to run it back. Love just takes them on himself. Ruben Love. Look at the pace. He finds some support. This is brilliant from Wellington.
24 points to 26. And big ladies retiring in a big scrum. So here comes Kendra Cox. There's Mel Buckles. Of course, he's going to get there. Yes, she is.
Loading up again down the blind here. We'll hit a lovely little short pass to Ala. Shifting it up, Mali. He's got wheels. He's got a couple of tries. Absolutely fantastic.
Flanders. Big fend. Nice right hand. Offload Thompson. Staying alive in the middle. Now Brad Weber. Put on a little left right. Now he's hit it under the post. Davis with a little show and go. Now a right foot step. Draw a pass and a chance. Down the left edge. He's going to get her name on the score sheet, but that is all Maya Davis. A good run from Wharehinga. Swan. Numbers out to the right hand side. A long ball. And it's going to be a beautiful goal. They break the heart of the Napier Boys High School team. team and supporters.
The top 4 schoolboy rugby, how good? We're going to talk about that very, very shortly, but we've got the crew back and Taylor's joining us as well. Your trivia question was, which day of the week have the All Blacks played the least amount of matches? Has anyone got an answer?
Was it tests or matches?
One or the other. Does it matter?
That's significant.
Does it matter?
That's a significant piece of information.
Test. It says test. So
okay,
we'll go
was
test.
It was test. Oh, that doesn't help me. I would thought I'd make sure.
What day? Pick a day.
I was going to say Thursday.
Thursday.
Since it's on Thursday.
Well, you threw me because it was matches or test matches. I was going to say matches Tuesday.
Oh, come on, that didn't matter.
Matches Tuesday and test matches Thursday.
Taylor?
I'm going to go Tuesday.
Jeff?
I'll go Monday, just to be different.
OK, well, if you stuck with your matches rather than tests, you would have been correct, because Tuesday, as Taylor mentioned, is the right answer.
So I got second.
One test on a Tuesday.
So I got second.
That second doesn't matter.
Oh, right, yeah.
First, you have to win.
Can you name the test?
Can you?
Yes, I can, actually.
What is it?
It was the first test ever. It was in Dunedin on, what's that little place down there by the sea down there?
Oh, yes. Was it down at Tahuna?
Yeah, Tahuna. First test
way.
on a Tuesday, yeah.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
I'm
well,
lying.
well,
He has no idea.
Making it up.
Fountain of knowledge.
Oh, made up.
And that is your trivia question
You
for
should know
another
the
week.
answer, though, Kirsty, if you
I should
ask
probably
a
know the
trivia
questions.
question.
I should know the semantics of the questions first, but the top 4 did go down over the weekend in Palmerston North. Hamilton Boys High champions once again of the men's side. Manukura, controversially, were the winners, even though it has currently been split between them and Christchurch girls. But there's been whispers in the last week that New Zealand rugby looks set to take over schoolboy rugby. What does this mean, Jeff? You've had conversations with New Zealand rugby about it.
I spoke to Steve Lancaster this morning. I just wanted to get some clarification. There was an article written today about how they're trying to build their relationship with schoolboy rugby, given the fact they know, and the statistics back it up, there is a significant drop-off in terms of boys continuing growing into men and going back into club rugby. So they're recognised as an area. They're not trying to take over high school rugby. They can't do that anyway, Taylor, and you know this better than anyone. But the reality is what we're seeing is that the numbers going from schoolboy rugby back into the club scene, it's just not happening. And it's clear to everyone. And there are some concerns around that. And New Zealand rugby are going, you know what, we have to have a conversation about how we keep these kids playing the game. We don't want to step on the fact that we understand first 15 rugby is important. We want to be aspirational, but in some ways, JK, I think it's really important that this is important not just for on the field, but this is our potential fan base of the future. Families that go and watch games, the moment they move away from the game, they're very unlikely to come back.
Well, I have 2 problems. One of them's called academies for any sport. So you're making it or not at the age of 13, and I think that's ridiculous. I believe that the Norwegian ski team that won the most Olympic golds in the winter, they don't let anyone specialise till they're 18. Just play. When we grew up, we just played. I get really annoyed also when a young kid has to choose between rowing or rugby or soccer or basketball. That's just being selfish, I believe, because I believe the talent will come to the top. So I've got a real problem with academies. I think we need to look at that. From a rugby point of view, we need to have 2 pathways. We need an under-85s World Cup, like I mentioned last week, but we need alternative pathways because not everyone can play at the elite level, but rugby for me has always been a lifestyle sport. It's a sport that will take you to London. If you go to London next week on your OE and you play rugby, go to your local rugby club, you get a job, you get a group of friends. It's a lifestyle sport. And the other thing that I'm really wouldn't mind a discussion on is scholarships. I mean, are they ridiculous or are they good or what are they? Because if I spoke to 10 people, 5 say they're ridiculous and 5 say, oh no, it's a good opportunity.
It's a tough one because most of the scholarships do end up coming from places like the Pacific, and that's a whole other situation in itself. And I think the issue at the moment with school rugby is it's so fragmented and there's no clear vision. You know, you've got the focus of the elite, but then there is no other pathway. There's no fun factor or no real goal for every other team there is. You know, like when I was at high school, the 7th grade team, it was a big, you know, fun festival. On a Wednesday afternoon, we'd all go watch the 7th grade team. They weren't the best. They weren't an elite team, but they had fun, and it was all about having fun. And they were playing towards that goal of being, you know, the best team in terms of having support. So I think there's no real clear guide as to what the goal is for New Zealand rugby at the moment at that level, because so many competitions transcend different provinces. You've got the Super 8 that covers 4 different, provincial unions and things like that. So there's no real alignment across any of those teams. Some provinces are really good at aligning secondary school rugby, from under 13s up until under 18s, and others just have no idea what's going on until 2 weeks beforehand. So I think it's not a bad idea having New Zealand rugby step in.
I think they've got resource now as well, Mills. I mean, they've got this investment portfolio coming out of Silver Lake. If they're going to invest, surely that's got to be a critical area, because isn't that the future of our game?
Well, they're having that discussion. And I guess you all got valid points, but there's so many different aspects of school rugby, and if they're coming purely back to participation, then you've got to look at where you're putting that resource. Yes, I get what you're saying, JK, in terms of the academies, the first 15 and things like that, but I look at it from a lower grade. If they're going on participation, it's the rest that miss out. I spoke to you guys before in the green room about my son. It's his first real year of school rugby, and now he's not good enough to make some of these teams, but he's now put in a team. He's third form. So what's that, year 9, where he's playing with year 12s and stuff like that, and there's no coaches. There's no coaches available. They're relying on teachers to be able to coach. You turn up on Saturday and there's no referees, and then guys don't want to come to play the game for fun. And so are they talking about purely from a participation point of view where they're losing those kids, or are they talking from, OK, how can we make this whole sort of school rugby a lot better? I think the discussion, I think it's great that they're having a discussion now. They have got the resource and be able to sort of, I suppose, dissect where that resource needs to go to, because at the end of the day, we are losing participation numbers.
If you go to junior clubs, though, junior clubs are strong. The numbers are great. You think about the Ripper rugby programs that are graduating into the weight restricted, and then that goes into open weight, and that's where it's being lost for me. The moment they go into the high school system, all of a sudden it becomes someone else's problem or someone else's issue to organise. When New Zealand rugby, they've got this wealth of knowledge, they've got the wealth of understanding and coaching abilities to upskill people, to help them work with all the players, every single player, and I think that's the role of the high school. Every single player should have the opportunity to play and get better and get assisted in the game.
So why don't we just take the rugby off the schools and just let them play the first 15? Let the kids play for the club, and then if you're still playing for your club and you can't make the first 15, you've got the under whatever, and it can just be the elite competition that the schools want it to be. Because I see the schools wanting to be elite in everything. They want to have a great team to attract scholarship, attract other. Do they really want to develop the teams past their first 15, or do they really care about the game?
Well, I think that's where it's been muddled. I think it's got to the stage where they've actually looked after their own backyard, and that attraction of having a really good first 15 and then the support financially to be able to bring better players there has been always in. I think what the rugby union are now saying is, hey, we're going to oversee and see what's going on in terms of what you're talking about. Do we only play right up to club, until you're sort of 4th or 5th form, and then you roll into the school like they kind of used to do? And if you don't quite make the second 15 or the first 15, but you're still playing for the club against the second and first 15, well, I don't know. I think the conversation, having that conversation now and really getting in there and trying to discuss those, to sort of peel back some of those layers is a great thing, as opposed to there's so many aspects, Taylor, of rugby in general in schools. Yeah,
well, with the framework how it is now, I think why it is gone, when you go from clubbers to school, it's an access issue, because as soon as you take it away from schools, kids are at school every day, so they're going to, join in rugby. I think if we took it away and then follow that model with clubs, you're going to get a drop-off in numbers anyway. But I think what, New Zealand rugby needs to step in and to do is provide the right framework and get everyone in there. You touched on it. The reason why junior footy is so strong is because the parents are in there helping and they're passionate, and it's when we do involve the schools. So I just think, well, not as passionate as Jeff, as we saw earlier. That's a lot of passion. I'd like to see that at all the schools. But I think, it's a really difficult situation, but I think the resources that NZR will be able to provide will do nothing but good.
Can we just make some decisions, please? Or we're just going to have another review and then have another review and then we'll have another review on that review, so we can have another review and not make a decision.
We'll give you a debrief about the
NRL, people, let's learn off the NRL, right? They said their game wasn't fast enough. They changed the rules 2 years ago. They changed it again last year. The repeated 6 has made a lot of their forwards lose some of their size. apparently 5 kilos per player, and the game is much faster. So if we're going to talk about the schools, let's put a name next to it, let's make some decision and make some change, and then re-evaluate after the change, instead of having a review on a meeting and another meeting and a review, and then we'll review that and then make no decisions. Our game needs to move a bit faster, people.
I love a Sir John Kirwan rant.
Oh, look, I wanted to actually put you all on the spot and ask you something, but we've run out of time.
Sorry.
You've taken it all up, so that'll be our...
Well, tell them next week who's going to win the Bunnings
NEPC. We're 6 rounds in, just 3 rounds to go until the quarterfinalists will be found. We will catch you next week, and we'll leave the final word tonight to our dear friend, Bledisloe.
It's been a great occasion on Father's Day. And so on behalf of all of our hard-working Sky Sport crew, thanks for watching the Bunnings NPC. It is the soul of New Zealand rugby.